loves, and welcome back to Siren's Library. Today I am going to be giving you guys my quotes from Romancing Mr. Bridgerton that I am waiting for the most and that I hope to see in the show. I have a list of them on my Kindle, and I'm going to be going through the ones that I really am looking forward to hopefully seeing be spoken in the show that show up in season 3. I am filming this video because your girl is thirsty, is needy for something. Okay, give me something. I know there's a whole writer strike. I know there's an actor strike. I'm waiting for season 3 like no other, and I'm doing this video to literally feed my soul. So I'm just gonna be giving you guys the quotes that I would really love to see in the show. Obviously, this is a spoiler video if you've never read the books and you don't want to know what happens in season 3. See your way out. I love you. Subscribe. See you later. But if you have read the books, or if you haven't and don't really care about the spoilers, then welcome. We're gonna start in order of chapters for the ones that I really want to see. And the first one specifically is gonna be it's right at the beginning of the book where Penelope is like in the park in the square, and she looks like she's like about to start dancing, and Colin comes up to her like out of the blue in the square, and they're kind of having this back and forth where he's like, oh, it looked like you were dancing, and and then she's like kind of like, no, we can't, and he's like, oh well, if you want to dance, I've never danced here before. So that it's funny because he's like, it feels like he's being like flirty, and it kind of is like a moment. But then it gets to this point where Penelope is kind of playing into it, but then she's like taking a step back, and she says, anyone might see, and he goes, he shrugs and he's like, I don't care, do you? And then she like brings up the fact that, well, people are gonna think that you're courting me. And I really love Colin and Penelope's banter in the show, so I really want to see that more in the show. And I feel like having their conversations, like in the Romancing Mr. Bridgerton book, their conversations are honestly the best out of all of the books, the Bridgerton series that I've read so far. They have the best conversations because they have the foundation of their whole relationship is friendship, so they do have a lot of really solid conversations. So I really just enjoy the book for just watching them talk it out and have this like relatability where they can just feel comfortable with each other to talk about different things. So that's one of the scenes I want, that playful banter. The next one is with Lady Danbury, and I really hope that they do have this Lady Danbury Penelope relationship in the show for season 3, because it was one of the funnest things to see in the show. Like their relationship in this book is one of my favorite things. And so there was this moment in the ballroom where Penelope's, of course, being her wallflower self, and she ends up seeing Lady Danbury. They're having this conversation, and she's like, Penelope's like in her head. This is like right before this happens after the first kiss scene situation. So Penelope's just like in her head, and she says, I'm just distracted. And Lady Danbury goes, looking for that Bridgerton boy, no doubt. And Penelope like gasps, and she says, oh, don't look so shocked. It's written all over your face. I'm just surprised he hasn't noticed. And Penelope goes, I imagine he has. Because at this point, like, they shared this kiss, and she's like in her head about it, but she told him right before, like, okay, I'm not gonna think anything of the kiss. Like, obviously I know you're not gonna court me. I know you're not gonna pursue it. I know it's not gonna go anywhere, but I want to have this first kiss. And so it ends up being a very critical point for Colin as far as him being attracted to her and realizing that he's attracted to her, but it definitely puts her in this kind of like, had my first kiss with Colin, but still kind of being in her head, and she's just kind of like having this moment. Anyway, the next quote that I expect to be in season 3 of Bridgerton is the one And again, if you're spoilers, it is what it is. But it's when Colin, right after Colin comes out of the church, and after he found out that she is Lady Whistledown. And this is really, really, really important, because to me, Colin in the books really cares about her safety. And above all, he just found out she's Lady Whistledown. Obviously, in the show, it's a little bit more complex, because like Eloise's relationship with Penn is like non-existent in the show right now, and also the whole thing that happened with Marina. So he has reasons to like berate her about being Lady Whistledown for, you know, and how it affected directly his life in the show. But in the books, he literally starts with like, he literally says, I'm trying to decide what precisely I am most angry with you about, he said, because there's so many things, so very many things that I'm finding it extraordinarily difficult to focus upon just one. And I feel like that's going to be one of the things in the show, that he's going to have more than one thing to kind of talk about. And then he goes on to say, first of all, he said the terribly even tone of his voice suggesting that he was trying very hard to keep his temper in check. And this was in and of itself rather disturbing, as she has been aware that Colin even possessed a temper. I cannot believe you were stupid enough to venture into the city by yourself in a hired hack, no less. And that's what he says. So he focuses on her safety first, which shows that he cares about her. Like, she could have done anything and he found out about it, but his first concern is like, why did you put yourself in harm's way? And even the whole time that she's going on, like, he's following her in the carriage all the way to the church. He's like, why hasn't she stopped? Where is she going? Is she going into the city? This is unsafe. So he's thinking about her safety the whole entire time. And the fact that that's the first thing that he chooses to kind of say to her, even though he can start yelling at her about being Lady Whistledown, just shows how much he cares about her. And so that quote meant a lot to me, and I felt like it's an important one to have in there. Like, I feel like they need to they need to include that in there to show that at the end of the day he still cares about her. Now, the other one in that same scene, because the scene is a very long scene, the carriage ride is a very long and powerful scene. One of the things that I really want to see in there is also the moment where they're like, you can destroy the paper, but you can't destroy me. And that's just like Colin going, this is when they get into her being Lady Whistledown. And he goes, I'd like to, he muttered. And she's like, what did you say? And he says, Whistledown. I like to destroy Whistledown. You, I'm happy to leave as is. And she goes, but I am Whistledown. And he goes, God help us all. Because to him, Lady Whistledown is also something that is putting her safety at risk. And again, her safety is his concern. Like, he doesn't want people to come and attack her and find out that she's Lady Whistledown and then like ruin her life and hurt her. He's like thinking about that. And so to him, it's like, I don't want, just let Cressida claim to be Lady Whistledown so you can be safe, so nobody sees that it's you and you don't have to be ruined. And I just think that's just like a powerful little like back and forth again with them bantering. The next one is in the same carriage scene. I try not to pick too many quotes from the carriage scene because the carriage scene is very, very, it's a lot. But this is when we get to when things start getting a little bit spicy. And he just looks at her, he kisses her first, like after he's saying you are beautiful, but then he like kisses her and he's just like looking at her and he's like, you are beautiful. I don't know why nobody else sees it. And that is like a moment where it's like, to me, he's also been very blind to her for such a long time that for me, that was such a powerful moment where it's just like, he finally is seeing her, like he finally is seeing Penelope for Penelope, and it's just the moment. It's just the moment. After that, like right at the end of the carriage scene, there is the most fun. I think the scene is just funny because the carriage scene is just a whole bunch of drama. Like, the carriage scene needs to be a whole full episode, honestly. There's the moment right at the end where they showed up at at Penelope's house. The carriage, he told the driver to take the long way back to her house. They finally got there after having a conversation, arguing, doing some spicy things, and then right then when they're getting ready to get out of the carriage and Colin is telling her, oh, we're gonna go in, we're gonna go in to like see, you know, your family. I'm gonna go in with you. And she's like, you don't have to go in with me. I can just run in. Nobody's gonna notice me. Like, she's being like her wallflower herself. This is when he goes, for God's sake, Penelope, are you gonna marry me or not? Because at the end of the day, like, in the next scene after that, like, he said that you don't think I was gonna behave like that the way I did and not have an offer of marriage. Like, I'm a like, there's that, like, I'm a gentleman kind of energy with him, which I think is gonna be fun with the carriage scene, because in season 1 he didn't, like, there was that moment with Marina where he could have kissed her but he didn't. He was just like, I'm a gentleman, I can't do it. But with Penn, he breaks that. He breaks that, and I can't wait to see it. So yeah, that was the next one. The other one is at the end of another scene where they're in the drawing room scene, but it's right at the end, where after they finished doing some spicy things, and she goes, do I look a mess? And he nods, and he says, but you're my mess, he whispers. And I feel like that moment, that quote, is gonna be one of the most, like, playthings. And he knows, like, at the end of the day, marrying her and choosing her, that he has to kind of deal with, and this is one of the things with him in the book, is that he's like, I have to protect her, and I'm so afraid of the whole secret of Lady Whistledown coming out, because that can hurt you, and I don't want you to be hurt. I can't see you hurt. And so it's like, when he says, you're my mess, it's like, I feel like it's not just like her in that moment, like with her hair messy because they were just doing some things. It's also that, you know, he's embedded with her in his life, and it's just like, it's just a really beautiful moment. Like, I just really love that moment. So that's why I added it. Okay, so the next one is the love declaration. Okay. This is when, the next one is when Colin is trying to figure out, he goes over to Daphne's like house, Simon and Daphne's house, their estate, and he's trying to figure out how to realize if he's in love with her, like if he's trying to figure out if he is in love with her, and because he thought, based on how Benedict fell in love, because Benedict had like almost like it was like an instant love kind of thing with this book. I really did not like Benedict's book. I'm really hoping Shonda fixes the issues that were in that book, because there was a lot of issues in that book. It was my least favorite out of all of the ones that I've read so far. So I hope they fix those issues. But in this scene, Daphne is like telling him, like, Colin, she said, guiding him to the sofa, pushing him down until he sat, listen to me. Love grows and changes every day, and it is like, it isn't like a thunderbolt of this from the sky instantly transforming you into a different person. I know Benedict says it was like that for him, and that's just lovely, but you know Benedict is not normal. So it's like her, like, guiding him into, you know, understanding that love looks different for different people, and that he wasn't going to have the same kind of love story. Colin thought originally that it was going to strike him just like that, and he was going to fall for someone. And that's kind of what happened with Marina. He was just like instantly attracted to her, but it's not what happened with Penelope. It was definitely like, it's been a long, slow burn. And then once he realizes it, that's like when, you know, it blossoms. But it starts more with him being attracted to her after they kissed, into him realizing that he's in love with her. Anyway, the next one is this moment where, oh my god, this moment is a little bit like, I was caught off guard. Like, so Penelope was not supposed to publish the Last Lady Whistledown edition. That's one of the things they were arguing about in the car. And then in their wedding announcement, like, they were having a party, it was a ball, and her editor, they ended up publishing it that night, and it kind of crashed the party, and Colin was pissed because it was like, it was supposed to be her moment to shine and for people to see that he chose her, and it was just supposed to be this beautiful romantic night for them, and it just turned into Lady Whistledown, like, saying Cressida is not Lady Whistledown, I don't want to be associated with her. And they go back, he like has a dance with her, and then they end up like sneaking back into like his room, and it was like dark, so she couldn't, like, he hadn't turned on the candle, and there was like this moment, it was just like really, like, there was a sultriness to it. And so he goes, and she's like, could you like light a candle? And he's like, you don't like the dark? And even though, mind you, he's pissed this whole time, he's like really mad, but he's like being this like playful, and then she goes, not now, not like this, and he says, I see, he murmured, so you're saying you might like it like this. His fingers were suddenly on her skin, trailing along the edge of her bodice, and then they were gone. Don't, she said, her voice shaking. Don't touch you? His voice grew mockingly, and Penelope was glad that she couldn't see his face. But you're mine, aren't you? Not yet, she warned him. And, oh, but you are. You saw to that. It was rather clever timing, actually, waiting until our engagement ball to make your final announcement. You knew I didn't want you to publish that last column. I forbade it. We agreed. And then they go into like this back and forth. It is this really beautiful, like, again, their relationship has these like bantery moments that I really, really enjoy. I just really, really enjoyed it. And then it leads into the scene with the other quote where he realizes that he's in love with her. And that's when the quote of Penelope's, like, when she says, but this is my life, this is my work, my life's work, and this is all I have to show for my life. And if I can't take credit for it, I'll be damned if someone else will. And Colin opened his mouth to like retort, but to his surprise, he had nothing to say. Life's work. Penelope had a life's work, and he realized in that moment that he loved her, but he also realized that he was jealous of her because he was trying to figure out his purpose throughout this whole entire book, and throughout like the series of time he was trying to figure out like his purpose, and it was just not, he was still trying to figure it out. And she was kind of guiding him to what it was, and he gets there. Let's just say he gets there, but it just takes a little bit of time. Now that scene leads into when they make Lerv, okay? But there was a lot of like almost like slow burn into that scene. And one of the things that he does say, which is a little spicy, and this is the mirror scene where he says, I want to see you sitting up, he groaned, so I can see them full and lovely and large, and then I want to crawl up behind you and cup you. His lips found her ear and his voice dropped to a whisper, and I want to do it in front of a mirror. Now we know we're getting the mirror scene. I don't know if it's going to be like a montage. I think it's going to be, just because I think it's just going to be. But this was one of the moments in the book where it was like, and she's like, now? And so he's like, no, later. That I think it might be a montage, but I would love for him to say it anyway and then just like get into the scene. I feel like it would just be a little spicy, but the mirror scene's gonna happen, so we know hopefully it gets webbed in there somehow. Now the next one is when Penelope finally tells him that she loves him. She says, I love you. She whispered, I loved you for years. Like, and she just kind of like sits back and she just smiles, and she doesn't expect him to say it back. But then that scene where he does is such a beautiful like moment where he's like, I love you too, and then he like kisses her, and then like he pulls back to see her reaction, and she's like, you don't have to say that just because I did. And he's like, I know. And then he said, and you know that too. You said you know me better than you know yourself, and you know I would never say words I didn't mean if I didn't mean them. And I feel like that's gonna be such a beautiful moment for them to just lerv and be in that lerv in that moment of lerv. Just because it's just a beautiful scene. It's a beautiful moment. I was like, and then things get spicy. Anyway, the last quote scene, it's a really long scene. I'm just gonna give you like a couple moments of it that I really want to see in there. Is the ending. It's the last chapter where Colin ends up telling everybody that she's Lady Whistledown because Cressida is trying to blackmail her to, you know, give her money so they don't nobody finds out. She won't tell anybody that she's Lady Whistledown, but Colin decides to take matters into his own hands, and he just proudly announces it. But the way he starts his speech is really beautiful. He says, ladies and gentlemen, Colin announced, his strong, confident voice booming through the hall, I would like to propose a toast to the most remarkable woman in the world. He goes on to say, I wasn't surprised that I have fallen in love with her, but rather that it's taken so long. I know her for many years, you see, and somehow I've never taken the time to look inside to see the beautiful, brilliant, witty woman she'd become. And it's just like, it keeps going. It's a beautiful moment where he proudly claims her. I love this scene so much. It was just so beautiful. The ending, Lady Danbury and everything, because Lady Danbury had issued a basically a challenge for anybody to figure out who Lady Whistledown is would get a certain amount of money. And so there was like this moment between Penelope and her where Lady Danbury said you could be Lady Whistledown, and she was trying to prove a point, but she knew how Penelope was just really smart and she really loved her. So I think it might be the queen this season instead of Lady Danbury. We'll see. I don't know, but I hope it's Lady Danbury. I feel like it's really amazing, but the queen has been trying to figure out who Lady Whistledown is, so I think they might swap roles maybe. But those are basically the quotes that I'm really looking forward to seeing in season 3 of Bridgerton. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if there's a quote that you like really love from the book that you want to see. I try to like cover the ones that I are just like need to see, need to hear. I just want to see the banter, the friendship, the love, the blossoming, all of the things, the glow ups. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts on this video, and I will see you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe.